Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. The purpose of my talk this afternoon is to present to you the BCBP guidelines for business dealings between members and explain the procedures for working out conflicts in the event problems and differences arise from such business relationships. As BCBP members, some of us are employed in private and or public sectors of businesses or running them. Business does not only comprise the high street, the capital markets, and the industrial estate. High street is the common businesses like department stores, tindahan, drugstore, banks. The capital markets are the, I think it's the online, like stock markets, bonds, and the industrial estate is the like selling of house and lots. But it also includes the law firms, medical practices, and all those organizations that offer goods and services to consumers for reward. One way or another, business involves practically all of us. Personally, I felt rather curious on what to tell you. Have you ever asked yourselves these questions? Why have I joined BCBP? Can I ask favors from my brothers and sisters in the future? Can I make business or make money from the Brotherhood? Or is it primarily for the love and service to the Lord? Time will come na dili kinato malikayan nga since we are in a community of businessmen and professionals, so dili kinato malikayan nga naagay negosyo nga may tabo. As a Christian businessman, I believe that today my challenge is to show you how to thank the Lord to work and to teach you our community guidelines for business dealings. Let me start with the basic guidelines. Business dealings for Christians, whether in community or elsewhere, must always be based on biblical principles. Christians must be careful in how they conduct themselves in business because, like it or not, Christians are walking Bibles that people see. As a general rule, BCBP members are advised not to enter into business relationships with one another. The community is created for the purpose of fostering the spiritual growth of its members, not for business purposes. So, mo na siya, dili yun dapat, pero hindi makinatumalikayan kay we are businessmen and professionals. Just a while ago, I mentioned about the basic biblical principles. What are these principles? Why are these principles important in our Christian business dealings? First is the commitment to love and serve one another. Righteousness. And the third is proper stewardship. The commitment to love and serve one another takes precedence over the pursuit of profit or economic gain. Takes precedence over the pursuit of profit. It means, din sa community, negosyo man ta, pero dili na ito palabian o padako o ginansya. O ako mga itong ginansya, minus-minusan lang. Our commitment is to be ready to meet one another's needs with our personal help and resources, and to look upon one another's welfare as our own. The passage in Philippians chapter 2 verse 1 to 4, this is a concrete example to this. Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from His love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being in one spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility value others above yourselves, not looking your own interest, but each of you to the interest of the others. I have an experience to this, no? Just a few months ago, I was really touched. This happened in our community to me, no? From a engineer brother. I was thankful. I was very thankful to him. I was back new in a house construction business, and where wakay knowledge pa sa processing sa mga papers, and nanawag ko niya. Wag siya pagduha-duha na tupad na ko tanan nun sa ako ang pangutana. He even gave me all the papers necessary for the documents na pero bitaw ihimo niya dili ta kompetensya kay brother Stan, pero gikabahan ko niya ba. So in this community, pero kapila na ito po na ko nga magtinabangay ganito rin sa as brothers and sisters. Thank you kayo sa aking brother. The second basic biblical principles is the righteousness. As BCBP members, we are committed to a life of righteousness and holiness, not just individually, but also as a body or a community. It is expected we must do the following. Business dealings must be conducted in a righteous, honest, and just way. Full disclosure of all material facts and attendant is frustrated with a proposition. Full disclosure of any potential or present conflicts of interest. Submission of periodic reports. So, to be, para makuha natin yung righteousness no, sa business, so, we should disclose, kung engage na ito business, anything, materials, or unsa nga kung engage sa business, we should disclose everything. And especially that are potential for conflicts of interest, then so submission of periodic report, like bini sa atong community, no? Sa atong treasurer, every month submit nga siya report sa atong cash flows. God commitment responsibility to ask questions, seek clarification on things unclear. So we should be open to any questions or clarifications o kinsa may kanang gusto makaibalo kay para wala kay conflict. Documents all agreements, sharing to others of any information particularly those arising from business difficulties, should always be guided by righteous and prudent use of speech. Prudent use of speech. What siya? We should be cautious kay sa tuwang istorya basig na ay masakitan. Labaw na kanang mag-open without for discussion, for any questions or seek clarifications. Among gayuban ba nga dali mahubos awa, dili siya saling na ko. Pero dapat dili mo na kay para walay problema. Honesta, righteous. And the next is the proper stewardship. In Proverbs chapter 10 verse 4, says, and I quote, "Lazy hands makes for poverty, but diligent hands brings wealth." We are stewards of talents and resources entrusted to us by the Lord. It is our duty and responsibility to harness, develop, utilize them properly, and exert our best efforts to preserve the viability and profitability of our business in order to contribute to the common good and continue to serve each other's needs. Do one's best in maintaining and promoting the viability of one's business. Exercise sound judgment and discretion. Promote the common goods and serve each other. Guidance in the Brotherhood. Problems and differences arising from business relations may lead to a breakdown of relationships. Such conflicts not only affect the members' commitment to love and serve one another, but also the unity and peace of the body. Business dealings with members should therefore be shared with their chapter head or unit leader for information and guidance. These leaders should handle the situation according to their level of competence. The do's and don'ts. Always disclose the business proposition to an elder, like action leader, unit leader, or chapter head. So before din kamukuan sa mag-negosyo ta sa isig brother or sisters, we should magpaibalot na daan sa atong action leader or unit leader or chapter head. Seek guidance of the elder before getting into business according to the level of competence. If not, seek proper advice. Leaders must inhibit themselves from business dealings with members, especially under their care. So as leaders, we must not deal business with our members. It is wise policy for the leaders to generally inhibit themselves from entering into business with any of members under their care. This would help in safeguarding and ensuring the leaders the freedom in the objective input or direction affecting not only the personal life of their men, but also their business affairs. To the elders here present and to the flock in attendance, bear in mind what 1 Peter chapter 5 verses 1 to 3 tells us. To the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder and a witness of Christ's sufferings, who also will share in the glory to be revealed. Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them, not because you must, but because you are willing. As God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. Next is document all agreements. Actions must be guided by what has been documented. So kung sa'yo i-document na ito, dapat magiging mapalo para wala problema. Okay. Spouses must disclose to each other all business dealings. A wife must secure the husband's consent before entering into any business relationships. Dito kami ni Sis Glenda, naman siya yung mga business na disudlan. Pero before that, magpaibalo gini siya nako na angay ba, maayo ba, na musulod na negosyo. Then, mas maayo gina siya na with consent yun. Actually, it's both it's either both spouses, either sa husband or sa wife. Dapat makabalo din. Sa ako mas productive, mas maayo ang negosyo na kausudlan kung both parties, husband and wife, kabalo. Kay mas fruitful siya. Kay basta ito nga nang wala sikreto, sikreto ang negosyo kinuha. So maayo siya. So leaders must maintain neutrality and independence. So kining leaders mali siya inhibit to engage into business sa mga members, to be able to maintain neutrality. Ang may tabo magandog ang leaders kasi negosyo sa mga members, di man ginagawa naman kaya, pero may possibility na dili na siya man-neutral, ipabor siya rin na siya negosyo sa bigas, hiniwala. So, kaprotect lang na sa ating community. Parties must perform due diligence before entering into any transactions and maintain confidentiality. Kung sa may tabo din sa community, dinhira ka na sa atuan. How to work out conflicts in the community? Conflicts, kini conflicts bisag asa na agin siya. Kay bisag asa ng community, whether ini sa religious community, so it is not a guarantee nga natanini sa community na dili na may tabo ang conflict. So naagin na siya. Being members of the same body, we are duly bound to exert every effort to resolve any conflict of misunderstanding in an amicable manner, to preserve loving personal relationships and to prevent harm or injury to the body. If the controversy cannot be resolved by the members involved, the dispute would be elevated to chapter head or to the regional council director or the area managing director or to whomsoever the BCBP management committee in the national level may designate to handle the dispute. Court litigation should only be resorted to as a last resort. Ulahin na ng court kung makaya pa nato din sa community i-resolve ginato. And remember, at all times, maintain confidentiality. Specific business relationships. Corporation, primero na kay corporations, partnership, joint venture. I think most of us here familiar in corporation, partnership or joint venture. Ako lang po brief one. Corporation consists of not less than 5 members or individuals to be able to name a corporation. And the lifespan of the corporation is, I think, 50 years. The partnership is 2 or more. And joint venture is like any company or gonna, for example, natay gusto supplyan like sa mga gas, no? Nami gusto supplyan sa usang company, then dili na ko kaya mangita ko lain rice mill food na mag-joint venture ko niya para maka-provide mi sa demand. So all possible conflicts of interest situations are to be avoided, and the member concerned has the duty to make a full disclosure of all the facts and circumstances involved in the business proposition. He must inhibit himself from all deliberation on the matter. He can only proceed with the express consent of the other members. Decisions are to be made by consensus or the majority and need not always be unanimous. But if a member has serious objections and thereby adversely affects the peace of the body, the alternative would be to buy out the dissenting member to preserve the loving personal relationship. So, kung naay conflict na may tabo, then it should be correct decisionan sa majority, no? Pero naamong panahon nga dili kinatumalikayan nga ang usa ka member dili sa gyud siya mutuman ug unsa gyud kasablutan sa kadaghanan. So to maintain the peace of the body is to buy out the dissenting member para ma-maintain natong relationships. So the next specific business relationship is the supplier and the customer. Profit not being the only consideration, recalling our commitment to meet and serve the needs of our buyer or client. A supplier of products or services also has the obligations to look after the welfare of his buyer or client. However, the pricing of products and services must be in the light of teaching on proper stewardship, in which no member is required or expected to suffer a business loss or to impair the assets of his business enterprise, or prejudice the interest of his other partners or investors. So ganina the pursuit of profit, dili nato kay dakon, pero dili po nato pwede na pagansihon na lang po ang company. Or basin po nampi uban negosyo nga na ay partner sila lisod po nato madaot sila as partners, umikan lang ang ihatag ng discount sa usa ka member. So, bantayanan ko na siya kayo. Nevertheless, the obligations to be generous to one another remains but need not be limited to business transactions. Assisting a member from one's own personal resources may be called for. It is incumbent also upon the client or customer to clarify himself about the product or service as to not to have false and erroneous expectation. So, once ganegosyo nito, dili kita mahatag false hope. False hope sa isip ka member, kay base nun niya mag-expect siya ana, then dili na mo ang ma-serve sa tuang customer. Once agreements are entered into and commitments are made, each member must faithfully comply and be steadfast to his word. The next is the employer-employee. The employee member is expected to render the same level of performance and of excellence as business demands from all other employees. So as employee member, ato ang employer, BCBP sad, dili ta magsalig na kung itong amo, BCBP brother na nako, so magsalig ko. So dapat kung unsay atong performance sa uban nga employee na dili member sa BCBP, we should also perform the same unsay dapat nato i-perform. So the employer member is expected to deal with employees according to Christian principles in business. So as employer po, dili po ta mo natay favoritism kay hindi siya mas pabor ko ani kay nagpa-member ni sa BCBP. So dili ko nato yung treat. So we should treat them equally as employer po sa atong employee. Borrower and lender. Well, we are encouraged to help one another with our resources. We are also encouraged to see to the growth of our fellow members in all areas of life. Example is the growth, maturity, responsibility, and good order. Therefore, we should therefore see to it that all borrowing and lending be done with knowledge of the unit leader, or when required by special circumstance, the approval of chapter head. Such will ensure that the borrower's needs and requirements are met or serve as an opportunity for the borrower to grow in the area of putting order into his finances. Openness serves to protect and preserve the good personal relationships. So, may tabok nga borrowing, no? Although we avoid borrowing and lending to one another in the community, so dapat makaibalo ang leaders na to, especially the chapter head, kay kung yun yung trata ba? Pero once yung ko, may tabo din is community ngayon nga borrowing. Then kabalo ang chapter head. Diri rasad na sa atoan sulod. Dili na mo gawas na nainay kapag Ang kuwan na din na ang chapter head, ang sweetness na makontrol niya ang situation. So, let's see, hindi niya magod. Magtinabangay man ta kay brothers naman ta din Pero dapat kung unsay atong i-borrow nga money, huwag yung intended nga unsay ang dapat gamitan na makahelp sa atong brothers or sisters. However, in the event such is necessary, always consult with advisors. Leaders must never borrow from their members. So, pwede rin akong borrow sa leaders. document the loan, faithfully comply with the terms of the loan. So, kung sa day ang tuwa ko i-document sa loan, dapat tumano na to. Kung kusaan taan ang adlaw, bayad ta kay namin tagabangkuro hindi nila. Broker-client. A broker is committed to look after the welfare of his fellow member client and should therefore fully disclose all known available facts and circumstances, risk, etc., unless otherwise specified. The broker should make it clear, and the parties should realize that he does not warrant anything. Good. So, parties to the transaction must remain good stewards. So, kinilay no, as broker-client. So, ihapon no, dapat i-disclose na ito tanan na dili gyapon ka mukatag og false hope kay I think broker-client. I think it's mga house and lot na po siguro ng negosyo. So, at all times, we should maintain the good steward. As a BCBP member, it is expected of us to conduct ourselves to total fairness, faithfulness, honest, and loyalty in our business dealings. And lastly, we have a duty to harness all our talents and resources to grow our business so that they may be used to help others and bring glory to God. So, each member must do his best to safeguard the interests of our fellow member, especially in the matter of helping the other grow in the community, in the maturity and responsibility. In closing, let me end my talk by quoting Galatians chapter 6, verse 10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. Thank you and good afternoon.